the Rui Lopez main line for white, and black is playing knight b8. It goes without saying that this is not the only move. We have also knight a5, Shigorin variation. We have bishop b7 followed by rook a8, Karpov, Zaitsev. So, but this knight retreat actually defines the variation that will be covered in my files. Knight b8. What's the point of this idea? The knight is heading to d7 and bishop b7. So this kind of positional regrouping allows black to put maximum pressure on white's center. I have a tremendous respect to this opening. It's both very reliable and also very fighting. We have for a long time, usually we have many pieces on the board. Like it's very hard to see serious simplifications here, at least in the short run. So in this video, I wanted also to mention my personal experience with Breyer. And actually, it was a very rough start. Here from this window, you can see my games. And first 3 games, I actually lost. So I lost first 3 games. And surprisingly, the reason was not exactly the opening. I had no issues in the opening in all these 3 games, but I felt something is not clicking. So sometimes you just you like the opening, you understand well, but the results are not good, and you think like, well, it's probably time to change. Fortunately, I decided I'll give a shot for one more game, and if I'm not scoring at least draw with black, I'll give up and try to find something more suitable. Fortunately, I won game number 4, and since that I scored 3 more wins without losing a single game. So here I wanted to show some of the highlights of Breyer variation and what you can find in my files. So the main line is obviously d4, knight d7, knight d2, bishop b7, and move bishop c2. I would like to mention also a remarkable idea, and I always trick my students when I ask them what is the best scoring move for white, and it's actually rook e2. The idea of this strange move is to play not to play bishop c2 at all in order to protect the pawn on e4, but rather to go queen e1 followed by knight f1. But if you know well how to respond, black is doing fine. And the positive score here for white, it's mostly because there are only a few games played here and there are not so many strong players play this position for black. So instead of rook e2, obviously the main move is bishop c2, and now the follow-up of our regrouping is rook e8. So bishop coming to f8, so we open the rook, so extra pressure against e4, followed by fianchetto, g6, bishop g7. Knight f1, bishop f8, knight g3. This is classical regrouping for white, classical maneuver. So now we play g6, f5 square has to be covered, and now this is some kind of crossroad with 2 major lines for white. So one line is a4, probably nowadays the most popular line, and here in my file I'm actually covering the move that slowly becomes fashionable here, even though still it's probably not top 3 choices for black. Much more popular c5 or bishop g7, but there is a move knight b6. The idea of this move to attack pawn on a4 and force white to clarify the situation with either ab5 or a5, or maybe there is a b3. Obviously everything is covered here. Now I want to mention the following line that actually happened in my 4th game that I won. So the move is b3. So the idea of this move that white is planning to build a very strong, powerful pawn chain in the center. So after bishop g7, white is responding with d5, and this pawn d5 will be supported by c4. So after d5, we have a problem with the light square bishop on b7, and we have to undermine the center with c6. But right away it's not working, because after capture on c6, our d6 pawn is hanging. So the best move for black here, rook c8. Rook c8 prepares c6, since after capture we can recapture with the rook, protecting the pawn. So obviously white is responding with c4 at some point, but I would like, it can be c4 right away, but bishop e3, c6, c4, and building a strong pawn structure. Now, the best move for black, knight b6, and this is the move that I played actually in the aforementioned game. After knight b6, the pawn c4 is under attack, and queen e2. And here I was fortunate enough to discover a fantastic idea. So the idea is piece sacrifice in the center for only 2 pawns, but very active play in the center. There are some tactical threats as well as 2 pass connected pawns in the center. So in the game that I mentioned, actually my opponent responded with bishop g5, and after queen c7 attacking bishop on c2, white already faced serious problems. I believe that black is probably better in this position. Remarkably enough, I actually had a second experience with the same idea, the same piece sacrifice. When I played the next game, one of the next games, my opponent responded with knight g2, which is seemingly like a very natural move, protecting pawn on c4. And I responded with the same thematic